What if everything you've been calling bad luck is actually a hidden force working against you? One you've never seen, but always felt. Could the subtle shifts in your life, your relationships, and your energy actually be signs of something darker, something spiritual that you're unaware of? Ready to uncover the 5 signs that reveal someone might be using witchcraft against you? Let's dive into the mystery and empower your protection. Strange coincidences. A streak of bad luck that just won't quit. People you love suddenly turning cold. You might think, maybe I'm just overthinking. But what if you're not? What if these aren't random hiccups, but signs of something darker, something deliberate? The truth is, witchcraft isn't just folklore or broomsticks and bubbling potions anymore. It's subtle. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. It's sneaky. It's spiritual warfare in disguise. Like that one friend who never forgets when you owe them money, but mysteriously vanishes when the check comes. In today's video, I'm going to share 5 unmistakable signs that someone might be using witchcraft against you. And no, this isn't superstition. These are patterns that show up right before your peace disappears, your relationships collapse, and your luck turns upside down. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. But here's the good news. You can protect yourself. You just need to know what to look for. So before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this isn't just another video. It might just be the spiritual wake-up call you've been needing. Ready to uncover what's really going on behind the curtain? Let's expose these hidden attacks together. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. Sign 1: unexplainable negative life patterns. The first sign that someone might be using witchcraft against you is the sudden eruption of negative patterns in your life. Patterns so specific, so targeted, that logic alone can't explain them. Take the story of Thomas. He wasn't a superstitious man, a quiet, grounded guy in his early 50s. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. Thomas had spent his whole life building things: his business, his marriage, his reputation. He was the type of man who believed in effort. If something broke, you fixed it. If life got hard, you worked harder. That's how it had always been, until everything started unraveling fast. It began subtly. His reliable stream of clients gone almost overnight. Emails went unanswered. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. Then came the tech issues. His phone would die during critical calls. His laptop froze during pitches. At first, he blamed age, burnout, Mercury in retrograde, anything. But things didn't stop there. Thomas, who had always been in good health, began experiencing dizziness and fatigue. Tests came back clean. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. The doctors said it was probably stress. Then his wife, who had always been his closest ally, started pulling away. Their conversations turned cold, loaded with tension he couldn't explain. She began accusing him of things he hadn't said, hadn't done. The argument started out of nowhere and ended in silence. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. Even his dog, once inseparable from him, now refused to sleep in the same room. It was as if the life Thomas knew had quietly slipped into a parallel version of itself. One where nothing made sense anymore. And here's what's important. None of it had a reasonable explanation. Everything that once ran smoothly, his finances, his relationships, his health, collapsed within weeks. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. And the timing always right before something good was about to happen. A new client call, phone dies, romantic dinner planned. She cancels, crying, unsure why. Every blessing fell apart at the moment it was within reach. That's not bad luck. That's sabotage, spiritual sabotage. Witchcraft in today's world doesn't look like black robes and chanting in the woods. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. It hides behind smiles. It sits at your table. Sometimes it comes from the people closest to you. And while it may sound far-fetched, stories like Thomas's are more common than you think. The key is in the pattern, not just the misfortunes, but the precision of their timing and the way they always seem to steal what you value most right when you're about to receive it. A Stoic would say, observe. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. Do not react. Marcus Aurelius believed that the first defense against invisible enemies is the power of the mind to see clearly what is and to not be deceived by appearances. And this is exactly where Thomas failed. He fought harder instead of stepping back. He tried to fix problems that weren't his to fix. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. And in doing so, he allowed the storm to grow. If you see parts of yourself in Thomas's story, if you've watched your own life quietly dissolve in ways that logic cannot explain, don't dismiss it. Don't chalk it up to bad luck. Begin to observe. Start documenting everything did. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life. The truth is, your life doesn't collapse without a cause. And while not every hardship is witchcraft, the ones that target your progress, your joy, your light, your breakthroughs, those deserve your attention. Because awareness, as the Stoics teach us, is your first and strongest shield. Don't wait until everything is lost. Pay attention while there's still something left to protect. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. If you found these insights valuable, let me know by commenting yes below. Your thoughts matter, and I'd love to hear from you. Sign 2. Unusual physical and emotional symptoms. The second sign that someone might be doing witchcraft on you is one of the most unsettling. It doesn't show up in the physical world first. It shows up inside you. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace. It starts with strange physical and emotional symptoms that make no medical sense. Exhaustion, depression, fear, confusion, and no matter what you do, you just can't shake it. Doctors tell you you're fine. Tests come back normal, but you know something isn't right. This was exactly what happened to Amanda. She was 38, a yoga instructor, full of life, grounded in both body and spirit. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. Her days used to start with sunrise meditations and end with peaceful walks. But over a few short months, everything changed. She began feeling drained by early afternoon, so tired she'd cancel sessions and collapse into bed. Her limbs felt like stone. Her thoughts, once crisp and focused, became foggy and slow. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. People began to notice her clients, her family, even her dog, who stopped following her around like he used to. Then came the emotional symptoms. Amanda, once joyful and playful, began crying without reason. Waves of sadness came out of nowhere, heavy and cold. She became jumpy, anxious, afraid of places she used to find comforting, especially her own bedroom. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. And the dreams, vivid, terrifying, recurring, always the same shadowy figure watching her, whispering things she could never quite remember, but always woke from in terror. She went to doctors, therapists, holistic healers. Nothing helped. Antidepressants did nothing. Sleep aids failed. Coffee didn't even scratch the surface of her fatigue. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. It was as if the energy was being pulled from her by something unseen, something cold and deliberate. It feels like I'm being drained from the outside in. She once told a friend, "In times like these, it's tempting to question your sanity, but your body, your intuition knows better." As Epictetus said, "If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you." Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. Respond, "He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned only these." In other words, when something is wrong, face it. Don't hide. Don't deny, especially when the enemy is not visible, but is clearly present. Amanda began to notice something strange. Her symptoms would vanish completely when she was away from her home. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. A weekend trip to Arizona brought her clarity, joy, deep sleep. She laughed again, but within hours of returning home, the exhaustion returned, the heaviness, the fear, and always after crossing paths with one particular person, a former sea orca, a woman who had grown envious, distant, and strangely interested in Amanda's personal life. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. That woman had once gifted her a small charm, something Amanda thought was harmless at the time. But after all that had happened, she dug it out of the drawer and stared at it with new eyes. That's when it clicked, and with that realization, she began taking her life back, cleansing her space, breaking ties, reclaiming her energy. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." What Amanda finally understood was that the attack wasn't just physical, it was spiritual. Her thoughts, her emotions, her very sense of self had been infiltrated. And that's exactly what witchcraft does. It targets your essence, not your body. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. It poisons the well from which your life flows. If you're experiencing something similar, don't dismiss it as nothing. Start tracking what's happening and when. Document the feelings, the patterns, the people involved. As the Stoics taught, observe constantly that all things take place by change, but not all change is natural. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. Some of it is forced, manipulated, and it's only through awareness, calm, sharp, fearless awareness, that you begin to cut the invisible cords wrapped around your life. Because in the end, the greatest form of protection is not fear. It is clarity. And once you see clearly, you can finally begin to heal. Sign 3. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces, strange objects and arrangements. The third sign that someone might be doing witchcraft on you is one of the most overlooked and yet one of the most visible. It's the discovery of strange objects or unusual arrangements in your home, workplace, or personal space. Unlike emotional shifts or health changes, which can be doubted or dismissed, this sign gives you something concrete, tangible. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. It's what some call the smoking gun of spiritual interference. Across cultures and centuries, people have left physical items as a way to channel energy, sometimes for healing, sometimes for harm. In fact, in a study of ritualistic practices published by anthropologist Ronald Hutton, over 70% of traditional curses or spiritual attacks involved the use of a physical object, often hidden near or within the target's living space. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. These weren't exotic relics, but everyday items: string, coins, herbs, animal bones, broken glass, or ashes. Objects that, to the untrained eye, seemed completely meaningless. Yet to those who understood their purpose, they were powerful tools meant to bind, block, or weaken a person's spiritual protection. Modern witchcraft often relies on that very principle: camouflage. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. It's no longer about pentagrams drawn in blood or bubbling cauldrons in the woods. No, today it's about subtleties. A small piece of cloth tucked under a welcome mat. An old photo of you didn't know was missing, burned around the edges and hidden behind a picture frame. A dead plant that refuses to stay alive, no matter where you move it. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. Even a piece of jewelry that suddenly feels heavy or off, draining you instead of adorning you. What makes these items significant is their placement. Doorways and thresholds, places you pass through daily, are prime locations because they symbolize transitions. Energy shifts most powerfully where movement happens. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. Witchcraft seeks out those liminal spaces to attach intent. Other targets include the bedroom, especially under the bed, or inside the mattress, because that's where you're most vulnerable. Unconscious, unaware, exposed. The car is another favorite. It isolates you and yet moves you. Items placed inside, under the seats, or in the glove box can create a lingering effect of misfortune, distraction, or even danger. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. The Stoics didn't speak directly of magic or curses, but their philosophy warns us not to take peace for granted. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." If there is something or someone trying to block your energy, your progress, your clarity, it becomes your job not to deny it, but to confront it with unwavering calm and methodical awareness. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. These objects don't work because of the item itself. They work because of the intention embedded in them. Much like a phone receives a signal but does not create it, these items are conductors. They carry frequency, energy, emotion, direction. And when that energy is hostile, it can infiltrate your mental clarity, drain your physical strength, and disturb your emotional peace. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. The key then is not fear, but observation. If you've been feeling off and you've ruled out the usual causes, stress, illness, grief, start inspecting your environment. Don't just look, feel. If something in your space gives you a wave of discomfort or dread, that's not paranoia. That's your instinct. And instincts are ancient evolutionary protectors. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. As Epictetus reminded us, it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. When you shift your perspective to consider that your space might be energetically compromised, you're no longer at the mercy of confusion. You're in a position to respond. Should you find something suspicious, do not touch it with your bare hands. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. Use gloves or tools, and if possible, burn or dispose of it far from your home, ideally in flowing water or buried in earth. And more importantly, cleanse the space with salt, sound, smoke, whichever method aligns with your beliefs. Not because it's mystical, but because it's intentional. Because action, especially when rooted in clarity, always breaks the grip of hidden agendas. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. Understanding this third sign is crucial because it offers physical proof that your life may be under spiritual attack. And in the face of such darkness, the most stoic act is not to panic, but to act with calm, grounded courage. You don't need to believe in witchcraft to feel its effects. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. But once you begin to see, you owe it to yourself to protect what belongs to you: your energy, your clarity, your peace. Think about your own experiences. Have you ever noticed this? Comment yes or no below. Sign 4. Drastic changes in relationships. When someone does you wrong, you must remember that they are acting according to their own principles, not yours. Marcus Aurelius. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. The fourth sign that someone might be using witchcraft against you is perhaps the most personal and the most emotionally devastating. It's the sudden collapse of relationships, the unexplainable breakdown of trust, the cold withdrawal of people who once loved you. This isn't just one friendship faltering over time or a romantic relationship growing distant. No, this is something sharper. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. It strikes fast. It spreads like wildfire. And when it happens, it doesn't just hurt, it leaves you hollow. Caroline never believed in anything supernatural. She was a therapist, pragmatic to the core, grounded in evidence, and trained in emotional logic. But over one long autumn, her entire support system seemed to disintegrate in front of her. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. First, her best friend of over 15 years stopped returning her calls. Then, a group of colleagues she had mentored for years began excluding her from meetings and lunches. She tried to address it calmly, but no one gave her answers. One simply said, ... Things have changed. Without explaining what exactly had changed, the messages she sent were left unread or worse, misinterpreted. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. A polite email was perceived as passive-aggressive. A supportive comment was taken as criticism. The most painful blow came when her younger brother, who had once called her his rock, accused her of changing and cut off contact. No fight, no incident, just silence, confusion, and heartbreak. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. Caroline began to question herself. Was she really becoming colder, more distant? Had she unknowingly hurt the people around her? She combed through conversations, emails, texts. There was nothing there, and yet everyone she had leaned on now seemed to recoil from her presence, as if some invisible mark had been placed on her name. This kind of mass withdrawal, especially when rooted in confusion, is one of the most destructive signs of energetic manipulation or spiritual interference. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. In many traditional cultures, this was considered one of the darkest uses of witchcraft, not because it caused physical pain, but because it destroyed the human web of connection. Witchcraft in this form doesn't attack your body. It attacks your place in the world. It erodes the trust others have in you. It whispers doubts into ears. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. It clouds memory. It plants thoughts like poison ivy, subtle at first, then overwhelming. When people are under this influence, their behavior doesn't feel like them. That's what makes it so jarring. You know them, you love them, and yet they act like strangers, distant or hostile without cause. Their words are distorted, their reactions disproportionate. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. And your natural response is either to lash out or retreat inward, both of which only make the isolation worse. The Stoics understood this. They taught that the opinions of others are beyond our control. and that suffering often arises when we try to cling to what's already slipping away. Epictetus reminded us, don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do, and you will go on well. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. But even more than surrendering to what is, Stoicism teaches us to observe without being consumed. If relationships in your life are falling apart inexplicably, pause. Don't chase. Don't beg. Start to notice the patterns. When did the shift begin? Who was around you then? What new presence entered your circle around that time? Caroline, after months of confusion, began to trace the changes back to a meditation group she had joined. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. A woman there had taken a particular interest in her. Flattering, curious, always offering gifts, crystals, teas, incense. What seemed harmless, even kind, eventually felt heavy. The charm bracelet she wore daily began to give her headaches. The group's leader grew cold when she began asking deeper questions. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. When she stepped away from the group and removed every object she had received from that time, something shifted. Her brother called her. Out of nowhere, her best friend emailed. The fog began to lift. When you find yourself suddenly cast out from your own tribe without reason, when misunderstanding multiplies despite your honesty, when people look at you and no longer see you, consider that something may be interfering with the cords that connect you to others. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. These attacks isolate you not by breaking your heart, but by turning others' hearts against you. The greatest Stoic strength in these moments is not to hold on tighter, but to stand back and see, to remember that who you are is not defined by the opinions of those temporarily lost to confusion. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. Their hearts may return, but only after you reclaim your clarity. Awareness is protection, and compassion, even from a distance, is the antidote to every curse. If you know someone who's struggling with this, send them this video. It might change their life. Sign 5. Intuitive warnings and spiritual disturbances. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. Did you know that in over 90% of near-death experiences, people report having felt a sense of knowing, a deep, wordless intuition that something was about to happen before it did? Modern neuroscience still struggles to explain this phenomenon. But for thousands of years, spiritual traditions have understood it as something sacred. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. Your internal guidance system, your intuition trying to speak to you before danger fully arrives. The fifth and final sign that someone might be doing witchcraft on you is not something you'll see. It's something you'll feel. It's the soft pull of your gut, telling you something's wrong before your mind can explain why. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. This sign is the most subtle and yet the most powerful because it doesn't come from outside sources. It comes from within. It's your built-in alarm system, the quiet wisdom that whispers warnings, when the rest of your world insists everything is fine. You may have already experienced this. That moment when you walk into a room and the air suddenly feels heavy, like something unseen is pressing on your chest. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces, or the way your skin prickles when a certain person speaks, even though they haven't said anything obviously harmful. Maybe you found yourself avoiding a certain part of your house for no logical reason. A hallway, a corner, a specific chair. You tell yourself it's silly, but your breath shortens every time you go near it. This isn't fear. This is awareness. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. The Stoics taught us to rely on reason, but they never told us to ignore instinct. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." What he understood was that our inner world speaks in more ways than words. And when your soul begins to change color, when your thoughts turn dark for no reason, when anxiety blooms in places that used to bring you peace, that's not coincidence. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. That's a signal. Intuitive warnings often show up in dreams. Nightmares where you're being chased, restrained, or watched. Dreams where familiar faces twist into something hostile. Repeating patterns that feel like more than just stress. They feel like visitations. Our dream state, unfiltered by the noise of daily life, becomes a place where spiritual attacks are more easily detected. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. But these dreams are often dismissed. We tell ourselves it's just our mind playing tricks. Still, the body remembers. And if you're waking up with dread in your chest, or feeling like something followed you into the waking world, you'd be wise to listen. Many people under spiritual attack report another shift. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. A sudden disconnect from their spiritual practices. Where meditation once brought peace, now it brings discomfort. Prayer feels forced, blocked. Their sacred spaces begin to feel invaded. Their routines dissolve under invisible weight. The Stoics believed that anything that clouds the mind, that disturbs the soul's clarity, must be examined, not ignored. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Epictetus reminds us to start by defining what we want to protect. In this case, it is your stillness, your spiritual strength, your inner compass. The worst mistake you can make with these intuitive signs is to disregard them. Don't wait for proof that arrives too late. Start writing things down. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. Your emotions, your dreams, your triggers. Track when these feelings show up and how they correlate to people, places, or changes in your life. Patterns will form, and with those patterns, understanding. Your intuition is not weakness. It is not paranoia. It is the first line of spiritual self-defense. And when combined with the other signs, sudden misfortunes, physical and emotional disruptions, strange objects, and fractured relationships, it completes the picture. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. A clear warning that something is working against your peace. From here, your response must be deliberate. Cleanse your space regularly, whether with sage, sound, or salt. Carry stones that ground and protect you, like obsidian or black tourmaline. Visualize light shielding your body before you enter rooms that feel heavy. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. These rituals aren't superstition. They are centuries-old practices meant to restore balance in a world that often drifts toward chaos. And above all, remember the enemy's greatest power is invisibility. Once you see it, once you feel it, you take back control. The Stoics believed that while we can't control external events, we can control how we respond. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. In that choice lies your strength. Let intuition guide you. Let awareness protect you. And let clarity be your shield. So, how many of these signs hit a little too close to home? 1, 2, all 5. If your gut's screaming, this explains everything, don't ignore it. Because witchcraft isn't just some spooky bedtime story, it's real. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. It's subtle, and it works best when you're unaware. But now you're aware. You see the signs, you feel the shift. And that, my friend, is where the healing begins. Remember, your peace is not up for negotiation. Your energy is not community property. And your intuition, that's your built-in security system. Don't disable it. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. If this video opened your eyes, don't just disappear into the algorithm abyss. Like, share, and hit subscribe. Tap the notification bell and join a growing tribe of souls who refuse to stay in the dark. Because this isn't just about witchcraft. It's about taking your power back, protecting your space, and living on your terms. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces. And yes, finally, sleeping through the night without feeling like someone's watching you from the corner of the room. Leave a comment below. Just say, "I'm reclaiming my light." If you're ready to step out of the fog and into clarity, you're not alone. You're not crazy. You're awakening. Let's rise together. Awareness is the first step to reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your life from unseen forces.